Glenn Stasky, now you're getting these lights ready to go on the system that we saw tested on Dane Westby's bike for early warning to augment the flag system, I guess, the way it's going to go.
It should be a parallel system to the flag workers, and it's a system where we can actually address bikes individually. So we could address a motorcycle and bring him in for a pit request or possibly a passing suggestion. This program has been developed with the input from a lot of the riders that we've been testing with. We tested it at the Daytona 200, and Josh Hayes came up with a great suggestion. He said, rather than putting just a light on the headpiece of the bike or the dash of the bike, he said, could you put one in the tail section? So this way, he said, if I happen not to be the lead rider and I'm tucked in behind a guy, he said, I want to be able to see that there's a red indicator for poor condition on the track as well. So we added that. And then I think Josh also said, he said, hey, you know, Glenn, he said, I know in cars we're driving in a horizontal position, and course workers, flag workers are in a horizontal, state, and your peripheral vision can catch a flag worker. But on a bike, he said, I'm leaned over in a corner. I'm not looking at the old guy with the red flag with, a sea of red T-shirts behind him. Yeah. He said, we're doing 200 miles an hour now at certain tracks. He said, can you put a light at the berm where my eyesight is? That's the only thing that matters to me is that berm and my track entry position in that corner. And I said, yeah, we could do that. So we came up with the brick, and that's Josh's brick, we call it. And it works pretty well because we can position it anywhere on the track. And being that the system is all digitally controlled and it's software based, someone could say, well, hey, can we, in an all course red, could we have an alarm that went off in the ambulance garage to alert the guys to get started before we have to get them on the radio? Absolutely. So we have a positioning. So in a full course red, we could send red to both the front and the rear lights on the motorcycles, as well as every corner station would flash red. We can also interface with the track's existing lighting systems. If they have a traffic light system with red, green, and yellow, we could interface with that. And one of the beauties of the whole system is it's entirely wireless. And every bike is not only a receiver, but it's what we call a transceiver. And what that means is from the course tower, all we have to do is address one bike, hit one bike, and they all hand off to each other. And each bike can broadcast a quarter mile away, and our main tower broadcasts a mile in each radius, in each direction. So courses such as Laguna Seca, we've mapped it out. And I've been there a couple times, and we've mapped it out on Google Earth. We could do the entire track with just 2 repeaters. And the repeater is a simple little box. It's effectively this box right here. And this is basically a receiver, a transceiver, a repeater, and it also is the unit that drives the relays for like traffic circuits. It's very low power. It's all digital. It has a lot of smart features built into it. For instance, if we were to set this unit up as a repeater at, say, at the Corkscrew at Laguna, and let's say AMA came in, AMA would come in with their encrypted code. They'd lock out the track. All the bikes it's an encrypted handshake code. It's pretty sophisticated code. So as every bike logs in the morning into the track, as they come in on their first practice day, when the track entry track is given a green signal, they would hold down a button on their bike. It'd be a learning button, and as soon as their light on their bike turned green, that means their bike was handshaked into the system, and that could give the rider's name, the affiliation, all sorts of things could be done. And at that point, we know what driver and what rider's on the track at any point in time.
Whew, that's a lot.
It's pretty. We've had a lot of great input, and every time, we get a call from either Al at AMA or we've got some SCCA input. Thunderhill track has been really helpful to us. We can do it, and because it's all written in our proprietary code, my partner and I can very easily make assessments to our product and revise it. It's pretty much ready to go now.
Yeah, and this is one of the best benefits of living in the 21st century racing that I've heard yet, is how to, the flags are so antiquated. They have a purpose, and they don't need to go away entirely, but this is a fantastic augmentation from what you've described to me.
We're pretty excited about it, and every time that we get some good input from a racer and I see what I call the light bulb going off, a couple guys were out on the track and we'd radio to them. He said, we're going to give them a yellow and 7, a green and blue, blue and 11, and they'd come in, the riders would come in. I saw this blue signal. It was great, and I was concentrating on my line. I wasn't having to look at a coursework, and I got a distinct signal. And we can, of course, send a different signal to the front and the rear of the bike. And another input that came up today is my envision for a blue light would be you just want to alert the rider that there's a racing going on behind him. He should be courteous, whatever we want to call it, to allow the racing to continue. Alters line, whatever it needs to happen. But the suggestion today was to make the tail light on the bike go on. And I said, why would you want to do that? And he says, because I want to know, if I'm approaching this slower rider, I want to know he knows he's been given that blue signal. And he said, that way I know that he's going to alter his line and it's going to make racing safer. And I said, that's brilliant. And what's also cool about it is, well, I know, and I've been up in the what do you call it, protest room before. I don't like to be up there. And there's always the question, and did he see the yellow? Did he not see the yellow? Did he pass before the yellow? Was the green lifted? With this system, it kind of makes that a moot point, because as we send a blue signal to, let's say, bike 32, and I don't know who 32 is, I'm not picking on 32, but say bike 32, we're sending a blue suggestion to you. Not only does it go off on his bike and the tail, but it sends back to this course control that bike 32 now knows he has a blue, because it sends back. So it confirms. The other thing that's really useful about this is if someone wants, from the course control, wants to call out, I want to call a yellow and 2. So he'll get on the radio, corner worker 2, yellow, please, confirm. Roger, can you confirm that? The guy has to grab the yellow and get the radio and confirm it. 2 or 3 seconds could go by. It could be very dangerous. This is instantaneous. The yellow goes out, it comes back in microseconds.
And I understand that, so if there was a yellow, waving yellow in corner 2, as a bike approached corner 2, his dash would go blink yellow, blum, 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 and then when he goes through, it can turn back to green?
Exactly. We have a GPS mapping potential into this. We didn't exercise it today, but it's certainly in there. And we would, what we call map the track. In other words, we would say, okay, at this position, GPS position, and we can get it within 3 feet, maybe 10, okay? And then with yaw angles of bikes, it may change. So, but we certainly can get pretty close. Say at this position in the track, this is considered entry to 3, mid 3, exit 3, entry 4. And so we say all the way through there. So if course control says we want a standing yellow in 3 and 4, not only would the 3 and 4 hard light that's on the tower go, but it would light the bikes as they went through that GPS position part. And at the instant that he passed that point that was called turn 4, if turn 4 was considered green, the light would go on. So they would have racing available at that moment. And also, with the GPS, we could latch back to the tower to say, hey, he did accelerate at green. He didn't accelerate before the green was. All that's is in there. So a lot of controversy could be averted with this. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much for an excellent explanation, and we'll look forward to seeing the system.
I'm excited to help out, and I'm hoping to see it on the track and on bikes very soon.
Outstanding.